Hey everyone, hope your week is off to a great start. Thanks for joining us on the American Huddle. Alongside Andy Gresh, I'm Haley Outen. Andy, we are really getting into the heat of conference play. Some really exciting games to look forward to this week. Starting off on Thursday night, a big West Division Texas showdown as SMU heads to Houston. The Cougars are coming off their first conference win at UConn, but for SMU, the story this week has really been quarterback Shane Buechele. He threw 6 touchdown passes against Temple, and he was named the Walter Camp National Player of the Week.
Yeah, a heck of a week for him and a heck of a season for Buechele as well. And it's part of the reason why SMU is where they're at. And this week they get a Houston team who's got to prepare for SMU on a short week. And here's the danger for the Cougs is that they're going to have to rely on athletes. They're going to have to play man-to-man coverage. And boy, that's really tough to do against SMU and the way they're rolling. Think of this. So SMU, number 1 in scoring offense in the American at 44.3. Houston, number 10 in scoring defense at 30.7. The Cougs have got to force some turnovers. They got to try to catch SMU sleeping at times. They're going to need a trick play or two and some help on special teams. But it's going to be a showcase game for SMU to really stand out on a Thursday night on the national landscape.
You can tune into that one 7:30 p.m. Eastern Thursday night on ESPN. Looking ahead to Saturday, Tulane heads to Navy in the Green Wave. They're coming off a tough road loss at Memphis, but now they head to Annapolis, where you've been high on this Navy defense all week, and the Mids did not allow USF to even score a touchdown last weekend.
It's pretty amazing that when you look at the Navy defense, you don't see NFL athletes across the board. What you see is the best 11 guys playing together of any defense in the American. That's what really stands out to me, in that they're just smart in the football that they play. Plus, all of a sudden you get a quarter where Navy can own it offensively for, say, 10 minutes. You're giving that defense big breaks and the ability to adjust and maybe with a little scoring take some chances. So this Navy defense is very much for real. And for Tulane, take care of the football. I expect Justin McMillan to bounce back. I think this is going to be maybe the game of the week in the American.
Yeah, this is a very important game, especially when it comes to that West Division. Andy, for Tulane, how will this game help us know where this program is as they look to avoid back-to-back losses for the first time this season?
Yeah, I think it'll show resiliency. It'll show that they can go on the road and get a win after a tough loss on the road. So I think it tells us a lot as to where Willie Fritz has this program. Are they capable of being a 10-win team, or are they in that 7 to 8 kind of range, especially when you start to get into American Conference play? We'll learn if they have a chance to be top of the league, or are they just going to be a really good team in a good conference?
All right, Tulane at Navy, 3:30 p.m. Eastern on CBS Sports Network. Memphis also heads to Tulsa, another important game for the Tigers, especially in that West Division. Andy, the Golden Hurricane this season, they have played a very tough schedule, and they have come up just short in a lot of really close games.
Yeah, and I think for Tulsa, this is the, hey man, now's our chance to get them. Because if you think of it from the Memphis end, they got the big one next week against SMU, and that's at home. So it's, hey, we just got to win against Tulane. Our path, like we can see the path to the conference championship game. What they can't do is look at the record and say, we're just playing Tulsa. As you mentioned, Haley, Tulsa has the ability to play up. I think Mike Norvell will have the attention of his football team heading into this one. And the best thing that could happen for Mike Norvell is that they go out there, put up a number, be able to rest some guys. But Tulsa's going to make it tough on them. I mean, they are not ready to break through yet. But in terms of their quality to play, a quality of play for 4 quarters, they're almost there.
And for Tulsa, one of the main focuses this week has to be slowing down the freshman running back from Memphis, Kenneth Gainwell.
Good luck. I mean, I don't know how you do it because, as Tulane found out, you get him in matchups on the outside, all of a sudden it's a wheel route against the linebacker and Gainwell's running by people. Brady White dropping dimes to him down the sideline. He's a tough matchup, there's no question. But look, for Tulsa, they can't let what happened to Tulane happen to them. They got to keep it close. They got to be within 10 points or less to make sure they kind of stay in this game. If Memphis starts to extend, then defensively you're much more compromised and Gainwell can make bigger plays.
Fun fact for Kenneth Gainwell this week, he became the first FBS player with 100 rushing yards and 200 receiving yards in a game since Troy Edwards of Louisiana Tech in the 1997 season.
That would not have been the name I would have gone with,
Chuck
Troy
Sullivan
Edwards.
For a good note right there.
Oh, very
packet.
nice.
Very well done.
Wow, look at Chuck helping us out.
Memphis at Tulsa, 7 p.m. Eastern on CBS Sports Network. Moving on, East Division matchup between UCF and Temple. Andy, both of UCF's losses this season have come on the road at Pitt and Cincinnati. So now they head to Philadelphia for what's going to be one of their biggest tests remaining this season. For Temple, we've seen the highs and the lows. What are you expecting to see in this match?
You know, it's interesting. The Temple defense, so the overall numbers, first 5 games, 292.4 yards per game. In the last 2 games, they've given up 573.5 yards per game. So will the real Temple defense please stand up? Do you have the ability to slow down the good teams, or were you just beating up on others like Bucknell and Buffalo? They had turnovers and things like that. UCF, number 1 in total offense, number 1 in scoring offense. I think UCF will go there and put points on the board. And for me, if I'm Josh Heupel, I'm going to go up there in the first quarter. I want to play fast, dictate the pace to Temple, get those guys thinking and running around a little bit. I think somewhere in the middle lies the truth. I think Temple will end up giving up, probably in the 30 to 35 range, and UCF will go in and do what they need to do to be able to get a win. But again, give me a read on the Temple defense. Against better competition, they've had issues.
Yeah, for both of these teams, sort of feels like a must-win in terms of the East Division, with Cincinnati controlling that at this point.
You know, it's funny. We sit here early on in September and be like, well, when we get into these divisional games, now we're getting into the conference and the divisional games, and this is really juicy stuff.
All right, 7 p.m. Eastern, ESPN2, UCF at Temple. USF at ECU in the afternoon. Both teams are sitting at 3 wins this season. How crucial is this game for both of these programs in terms of keeping bowl eligibility alive this season?
And there you go. That's really what it's about, is trying to find a way to get to 6, to be able to get into some sort of bowl. And it feels like USF has maybe turned a little bit of a corner. And look, everybody knows how big a guy I am on Mike Houston. He'll get it right down there at ECU. He just needs some time. But it felt like at the beginning of the year, USF taking the lumps, kind of continuing what happened to them last year, and now they're turning the corner and getting better a little bit. Quarterback play is kind of settling down. Defense is settling in. Very winnable game here, I think, for USF. The tough part, it's on the road. The thing for USF is they're not in the point to where they can make mistakes and are good enough to overcome them. And if you give an ECU squad the ball a couple extra times, they're going to find a way to make you pay.
All right, lastly, a little New England rivalry.
That's right.
Andy, UConn at UMass this weekend.
Yeah, so you've got 2 teams that are really hurting. And again, you look at UConn last week, so close in their game against Houston, but you got to get a result at some point. This might be the week where UConn finally gets themselves a result.
All right, biggest game you have circled this week?
Oh, Tulane Navy, because I think it just has massive impact across the American, and that's with all due respect to SMU and Memphis and their opponents. But when you think about that West Division, we learned a little bit about Tulane last week. We need to know if the Navy defense has the ability to hold an offense like Tulane, say under 28 points, which would be a heck of an effort out of them. So for me, that game is the big one on the radar, and I admit, I'm almost leaning more towards what will the Navy defense do and what will they show against Tulane.
The Navy defense was one of your biggest questions heading into this
No
season.
question. And now you look at what they've done. I mean, how can you argue the results at this point? They've been able to keep it rolling, but this will be a different kind of test.
All right, some good games to look forward to, all starting on Thursday night. Make sure to follow along on Twitter at American_FB. And as always, you can find highlights as well over on Facebook. On behalf of Andy Gresham, Haley Outen, we'll see you back here next week.